Hello, and welcome to Rhythm and Wit, a new series that will discuss and explore the creative and artistic expressions of artists and performers in Oklahoma City and its neighboring cities, or the greater metro area, if you will. My name is David Steele. I'm a bass player, a graphic artist, a music producer, a photographer, and a film hobbyist. My co-host is Nicholas Campbell. He's a stand-up comedian, singer, songwriter, an electric guitar player, an electrical contractor, a husband, a father, and my best friend for over 2 decades. Today, we will discuss creativity, and we'll touch on topics such as personas in comedy, stage fright, storytelling, inspiration, and we will discuss some of our ideas about networking and marketing in social media. We hope you enjoy. Hi, my name is David. This is Nick.
Hey.
We're here to talk to you about creativity. Okay, Nick, you are a comedian.
Yep. For about a year.
What can you tell me? What do you like about performing?
What do I like about the attention. I feel like that's everybody. The reason why people perform is they either want the attention or expression of self.
Right.
I like being able to express my ideas in a way that you have to hear me, which is what if loud music is.
That's something I always thought about playing music is you write these songs, you work on them, and then it's like, all right, y'all have to listen to this. Sorry. We hope it's good.
Well, at least with music you can ignore it. You know, at least you can drink your drink and talk to your friend and like a band's playing. But whenever you're a comedian and you're just talking and nobody's laughing, that's a death.
Yeah.
Like
that's kind of what I was trying to get at is like the fear of performing versus, anything. Public speaking is not easy for most people in general. Yeah. But yeah, doing comedy must be very nerve-wracking. What can you tell me about that?
Man, I am very fortunate in that whenever we did music, like the first 2 years, remember I was like shaking all over stage. I had a lot of stage fright from when I was younger. I kind of messed up in like this. I was auditioning to get this part in a musical.
Okay.
And then I failed horribly because I didn't prepare. And I went up there and I should have told her. You could have told her before you went up on stage. Like I should have told her, hey, look, I don't have this. I'm not gonna go. But I went up there and they started the music, counted me in, and I was like, I don't know it.
Yeah, starting out with anything on stage is tough. I think it was hard for me. I still get the nerves, but you just let them go. And once I'm on stage, I'm like in a completely different mode where I don't even feel like, you're playing with band members, there's other people in the band, and so you don't think about it as much. But some of these other people you might be playing with, they don't have that same experience, so it's like you kind of have to. I think about that a lot, and it's like, oh shit, they're actually really nervous. I forgot about that.
How often did we play? We played 2 to 3 shows a month. It made it easier for us to actually be in the moment when we were up there playing. We didn't have the chance to be nervous over playing. Right. It was more just being nervous being up there.
That's the thing with performing music. For me, it's like you train, your practice to where you get on stage, because you're not going to be able to think about. It's so hard to focus on your playing whenever everybody's watching you. You're paying attention to the drummer, you're paying attention to the singer, where they're at, doing this, that. There's 1,000 other things that you're taking your focus away. Yeah. So if you know the song and it's like, well, I don't even have to worry about that part of it because it's down.
Well, that was the best part. Is that was the fun part. Yeah. Is I'm in it now, and you can be in it with the audience. That's where I really got comfortable, was talking and being in between songs.
Right,
and I was always a jokester. You remember. I was always a jokester. I was talking a lot of crap on stage,
So
but we would have a lot of fun.
one way I think people maybe deal with the fear or the insecurity, and I think it's also general practice, is coming up with a character or a caricature of yourself. It's like a heightened version of yourself, I think, for some comedians that I've seen anyways. What do you think about that? And is that something that you've thought about diving into, or do you do, or what are your thoughts on personas in comedy?
I think about it all the time. I've read up a lot on it. Like you said, it's just an exaggeration of yourself and your flaws, and kind of what I've recognized is the better you're self-aware, like you understand yourself and you're accepting of yourself, the easier it is to put those flaws on display. Once you decide, because I don't really have any hang-ups on stage or even talking about things that make me vulnerable, because I'm okay with all of it. Like, I'm okay with doing that in front of people because I'm not ashamed of it, really. Now, there are some things I won't touch that are just like, I'm not going to talk about my wife in a negative way because I feel like that's bad. But I talk about my oldest kid, and our foibles with him being bigger than me and stronger, and like him being only 14 and being this, what essentially is a man. He has better facial hair than me. He has better, you know what I'm saying? He's like,
that's a big part of comedy, is exaggeration of all kinds. So I mean, something that probably happened, maybe it didn't happen at all, and they completely made it up. Who knows? It doesn't really matter. But there's probably a story, something happened, and you're like, oh, what if I just change this one thing? And it makes it a lot funnier. Well, that's just a heightened version of exaggeration. We do that in general conversation, I think, and most of the time.
The whole movie Big Fish is based on that.
So, I mean, that's interesting.
Well, and that's the best part about
Natural.
comedy, is it doesn't have to be real. It just has to come from a place of truth.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't have to actually have happened as much as it just represents the emotion truthfully. Which, I have a joke about Ryland that's about that, where it's like he shoulder checked me in the kitchen, and we get into a fake fight, it never happened. It never happened, but the idea that he kicks me out of my house, it's the hyperbole of it.
Storytelling is a big part of comedy, like you said, with the story of your son and all that. So you're telling a story. But I think of it a lot in myself because I love film so much. Comedy is like these mini stories that you tell, it's like, but they still follow the same structure. I mean, there has to be a beginning, a middle, and an end. And the end is usually the punchline, right? And it's like kind of a similar structure of storytelling. But what kind of techniques or things do you think about when you're writing jokes or bits when it comes to storytelling, and do you take any inspirations from film or any other kind of non-comedy storytelling?
Any stories that I have, like that one story, it just came from a bunch of jokes that I kind of just put together, and then after I started doing them, some of them fit and some of them didn't, so and then it became a story over time. But the thing about a story is I always believe it has an arc, and like you should be transformed in some way by the end. I equate it to like The Moth or Snap Judgment. You remember that on NPR?
Yeah, and those are the storytellers.
Yeah. Though I would love to be that well practiced at that craft, but right now I'm still focusing on just writing jokes, but they're not well crafted jokes yet. But I have crafted jokes.
That's the thing with the storytellers. A lot of them are humorous, even though they're not comedians. But they have punchlines in there that they punctuate kind of points. I used to listen to those a lot on NPR.
Yeah, and that's just a great way to help a story along.
Yeah.
And Mike Birbiglia is really one of the best guys for storytelling.
I know a little bit about him, but
something he says is, every beat in a story, that is your setup, and then how you feel about that part is a punchline. So first thing is like, how were you transformed? How to make that over time, your story structure. A joke is just a sentence with a curlicue at the end.
It's just something usually it's like unexpected, something that's like,
silly,
or it's a revelation.
I went to the store, right? I went to the store. What was the store? It was it was a cigarette store. You start getting in the details of the area and the stuff that you're doing.
Fill out the world.
Yeah, and then you make fun of it, and you just joke around with it. You know,
like
some of it sticks, some of it doesn't.
Yeah, you're a storyteller, even in music and lyrics and things like that. You've been doing for your whole life.
Well, when I was re-listening to one of our old songs, "Baggage Claim,"
Listen to now, Spotify, Aliens versus Robots.
But it was a story about, you know, unrequited love, you know, of the time. I'm sure you remember.
Right.
But I remember thinking like, dude, this is a pretty good, because the imagery of it, you know, the guy sitting on the concrete, filling the cracks in the concrete of the place that she lived.
So
and it represents the emotion and how I felt.
The limited songs or lyrics that I've written. When I think about the content of those, you're trying to paint a picture with words of like something that's in your mind or whatever it is, or an emotion even, and trying to paint with words and syllables and vowels and consonants.
And try to make it make sense.
Well, it doesn't have to make sense. It just has to.
No, but if you're doing a story, through line,
well, I'm thinking
lyrics,
with lyrics. But I think even lyrics, it doesn't have to. I mean, so many of the lyrics that I've loved, you know, growing up, I always think of like the Strokes. Like, I think none of their songs really make much sense. It's like a lot of random phrases of thoughts and feelings and emotions, but they're kind of just strung together. And I think that's sometimes how young people's minds work. I mean, we just have a million different thoughts, one after another, that have nothing to do with each other, seemingly sometimes. I don't know, but that's why it's like, it doesn't have to make sense. It doesn't have to actually, but, you know, it's art. I mean, all of it is subjective, and you can find, if there's meaning there, I mean, if you see something, then there is a meaning there. So, speaking of inspiration, what do you do for inspiration? Obviously, inspiration comes in, I think, in everyday life, especially for comedians. You just live your life, and I think a lot of it, I think, is taking a normal situation and be like, oh, this is funny. You know, even if it's terrible, it's like you have to find a humor in it. Yeah. But so I think in that case, anything can be inspiration. But do you do anything specifically if you're feeling like a writer's block or something? Or is there anything you regularly do to quote unquote fill the well? You have a well of creativity and you use it up and you have to fill it back up with something else. I don't know if you ever heard that before, but I think of it as filling the well. One thing I do, for example, is I love going to art galleries or any art displays of any kind, and that inspires me in ways that I'm not a visual artist. I'm not going to go home and do that, but I take that internally and turn it into something else, whatever I create. Is there anything like that you do when it comes to comedy or anything creative?
Well, I mean, I think you can be creative in any endeavor. With electrical, you know, you bend pipe and you can be really good at it and very technical and make it look really clean. And then how you bend your pipe could be an artful way of expression, because, you know, how you bend it is going to be different than how anybody else would. There's 1,000 ways to skin a cat. So I think I've been doing that for 18. I've been an electrician for 18 years. So I've been creating electrical systems based off of my
creativity.
Yeah. And so I treat comedy like that too. I come to it not like this ethereal, like I'm trying to connect to the muse, and it's just like, no, let me go craft some words.
Yeah.
You know, let me be technical
putting words
about
together, and just the same way you would put pipes or wires together.
Right. And so what I look at, I watch other comedians, and I'll watch just to see what's possible. That's a big part of not even knowing what's possible. I never watched as much comedy as I do now at Bricktown. That's inspiring, because it's like, oh, look at all these toys I can play with.
Think about that
I can get good enough to play with these toys.
That's even something, another thing that I do is I go and watch the comedians do comedy, and then it's like that fills my well in a way. Yeah. I watch so many movies, played so many video games. It's like all of that stuff you're internalizing, and in some way it's going to come out in something that you do later on. Experience in general, I think, fills it well.
Well, is that why you like them? Because I mean...
Yeah, no, I think it's... My thing for it is immersion into another world, another reality that's not our reality, but it's created. And I mean, that every film is a made up world that doesn't exist. I mean, it's all fake. Everything is fake in film. I mean, same thing with video games. It's just they literally build a world, a digital world that you can play around in and like get lost in and just experience something completely different that you cannot experience in real life in many cases. I mean, you can't. I'm never gonna go to space, I don't think. I mean, maybe Elon will take us. I don't know. Yeah. But I can in a video game.
Yeah. You get the opportunity.
Or at least maybe try to experience, think about what it could be like to actually do that. And like, cause everything, I mean, sci-fi is such a big part of, I mean, look at this. Like, yeah. I love it. It's like everything I do has some kind of sci-fi element or, not everything, but a lot of it is just like something that I like to incorporate, if I can. Like with music too, it's like I love like electronic stuff or incorporating kind of weird like alien sounds or alien weird shit into music. Phaser. Yeah. Like cool, like weird. It's like I love Daft Punk. Yeah. Robots. Like making music. Yeah. I mean, that's putting things together that might not even go together normally. Let's see. Next question has to do with networking, and that's a big part of comedy for sure. I know because you're on comedy showcase together. Why don't you tell the people about it?
The Lively Comedy Showcase at Lively Beer Works in Oklahoma City.
When's the next one that's coming up?
September 10th. We got a guy, Sapita Cheeks. He's like one of the best in Tulsa right now. He's like really setting fire.
See the headliner
to the stages. And we got Adrian Corwin, which he's like a guy that produces shows all over.
I think I know.
And then Wes Corwin, he was actually, I think, Best in Texas in 2018. I mean, it's a real treat to get him to come out, which is really nice. Well, as far as the networking,
you have to network.
It's mostly asking.
Yeah,
like
just ask.
People will come, like for the most part, for $25 and 3 beer cans and a high five.
That's
they'll
probably
come.
More than they get paid most of the time when they do comedy.
Yeah, well, this is a labor of love. Yeah, no, comedy's been. I think that's what you have to just enjoy it.
That's the same thing with music for sure. I think I never expect to make money. I mean, if I make money playing music, it's not be playing, because I'm probably going to be producing something, recording, of course. There are ways you can get in, but I'm probably never going to make any kind of money or living off of playing live original music, which I'm okay with.
Yeah. I feel kind of the same way. I'm at this really sweet spot right now where it's like I've kind of covered my bases as far as my age. Like I made it to be an electrical contractor, so my own boss. I have a family. I've got a pretty awesome wife. I mean, things are on track. So I just want to do comedy. I just want to enjoy doing this craft and making people laugh.
Networking is important for anything, especially if you're trying to get out there and perform and be an entertainer of any kind. One thing I think a lot about is creating your own opportunities. I mean, I know for comedy, there's a lot of opportunities these days than there ever was in Oklahoma City, which is very good and helps it grow. But it's still hard to sometimes get gigs or find gigs. Do you have any advice for anyone maybe looking for gigs, or maybe something, because you put your own gig together every month? I mean, you get to perform there. I mean, throughout, hosting, that's a gig for you. Yeah. And getting your name out there also. But is there any other ideas or maybe small things that maybe you might try or other people can try to like create their own opportunities for gigs? I heard Wayne Morris. He's a guy that does, I think he's out of Lawton. But advice he gave me was direct message, email, and call. Like, just like pick a place, you might want to go check it out, see if it's any good. And then if you decide like, all right, man, this looks like a place that might use some comedy, call them up and see if they'd be interested, and then have a conversation with them about what comedy at their place looks like. If you want to start a show, if you want to start an open mic, you got to be a little bit more careful, because people are just going to say wild at their place, and that might not be what they want.
So a showcase or open mic, you can, depending on what you want to do there. The other thing is just, a lot of times it's just ask.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to ask. People don't know what they need until you show them. Mm-hmm. And a lot of my sales from being an electrician has helped me a lot with, trying to find gigs. Because really it's all just talking to people who enjoy doing what you're doing. Mm-hmm. You're already doing it, like with other comedians too, they'll help you get on gigs.
Yeah.
And we help each other out.
That's always, once you're in the community, it's a lot easier. And like I said, there's so much going on with comedy these days. It's wild. It's like, what the hell? Yeah.
It's way better than it was in Oklahoma before.
To me, the balance has shifted for sure. Music has really taken a hit. I feel original music in Oklahoma City specifically. I guess the one last thing, if we want to go out with one more topic, my last topic is kind of marketing and social media specifically. I mean, that's what we use to market in 2023. One thing that I noticed from you all is you're relentless on marketing with social media, with your showcase and everyone else's showcase. I mean, you're always, anytime you want to find out what's going on with comedy, just go look on Nick Campbell Comedy, Facebook or Instagram. The stories has everything listed every day. Something's going on, and I always say I appreciate that. So I mean, I wish I had more time to go to more stuff. I would, but I think that's good for the community. I think we all should do that. Everyone should share everyone's stuff.
Because it makes a difference.
And hit like and comment if you like it. I mean,
it really does make a difference.
Whatever. Yeah, I mean, it's
the more people see it, the more opportunity they're gonna have a chance to come to.
That's the only way that we're gonna, if you want to support, you or whoever it is that's promoting something, if you can't go, at least share it. Try to get some of your friends to be interested in it. What other tips or things that you've learned or do for marketing and because the showcase is picking up every month, it seems like more and more people are coming out specifically for the show. They know about it now. So what has kind of led you there, and any kind of interesting things that you've learned?
Well, I just tell everybody about it. I think you just have to go towards your interests. So like, I really enjoy putting on the show. I want people to come see it because I want it to be successful. So I tell everybody, I post things online about it to people that I think would enjoy it. And I try to make those posts personal. So even if it's just the flyer, put music on it and tag all the people in it so their people can see it. And the goal is to show people it's a fun, good time. So I think if you show that you're excited and that you're willing to put work in, people show up.